And as I look back, like I think that's really in my coaching practice when I help other people, that's really what I think one of my strengths is that I help people get through tough times without throwing the towel in. And it is okay to throw the towel in if you have to. I want to make that clear.
This is Unconditioning, Discovering the Voice Within, with Whitney Ann Jenkins. Hello, and welcome to the 109th episode of Unconditioning, Discovering the Voice Within, where I bring on guests and we talk about the inner authentic voice and the challenges and the rewards that come from following it. This episode, I have with me Matt Gerlach. Matt is a visionary, founder, and CEO of Rise to Your Worth, a strategic growth consultancy dedicated to helping executives and high achievers unlock their true potential. A celebrated entrepreneur, dynamic speaker, and expert in personal transformation, Matt draws from his own journey of overcoming adversity to empower his clients. Despite his outward success, Matt's personal life was once marred by anxiety and depression. This struggle led him on a profound journey of self-reflection and healing, during which he invested over $200,000 and more than 10,000 hours into personal growth. Through rigorous introspection, he overcame childhood trauma and emerged with clarity, purpose, and inner peace, fueling his desire to help others relinquish harmful narratives and live lives of absolute abundance. Currently residing in Los Angeles, Matt has achieved a harmonious work-life balance and is joyfully starting a family with his partner of 12 years. Driven by a desire to give back, he is dedicated to sharing his story and guiding others in overcoming trauma and limiting beliefs to realize their dreams. Matt firmly believes in the profound wisdom within each person and is committed to helping his clients access that wisdom for personal transformation, creating lives of alignment, fulfillment, and spiritual abundance. And my conversation with Matt really reflects this. He was incredibly vulnerable and honest in his reflections about his past and how he was able to transform his life. So there's lots of nuggets of wisdom in here, I believe. So here is my conversation with Matt Gerlach. Enjoy. So it's really just giving you a platform to tell your story and to share your experience and your wisdom.
Thank you.
One of the first things that I'd like to ask my guests to get started is, because my podcast is about the inner voice or authenticity or intuition or that thing that drives you, the duende or the daimon or whatever you would like to call it. And because of the nature of your work and what you do, you had to go through a lot of experiences in your own life to get to where you are. And so, when is the first time that you realized that you had an inner voice of your own that you were able to recognize and follow?
Um, Recognizing and following would be two different times.
Fine.
So in 2017, so about 8 years ago, was right when I started my business. My life was changing in a lot of different ways. I had been in a relationship with my still partner. We've been together for about, I guess, 5 years at that point. And like life was getting good. I mean, it was changing. I just started a business and um, it's interesting, like this whole intuition thing, and it keeps unfolding. But I started a business. We'll leave it at that. I started a business, and I was met with wake-up calls in the form of horrible worrying that turned into depression and suicidal ideation that landed me in the hospital because I thought I was having a heart attack and manifested into panic attacks. And that's when I first recognized that there was something that I needed to listen to. When I
Yeah.
actually started doing something about it is a different story. Or when I started listening, or when I could hear it, rather, I did something about it immediately. But
Okay. So would you mind, like, if you don't feel comfortable, we don't have to go back, but I find it interesting to go back to our childhood sometimes and our upbringing and to see if we kind of like had any clues during that time of our own authenticity. Do you have anything from that time of your life that you feel connected you to your voice?
I'm very comfortable. There's nothing you'll ask me that I will not be okay with, probably. So go for it. Yeah, I mean, this has been a journey for me of going back to my childhood and recognizing how I ended up where I ended up. And I'm in a very interesting spot right now, in that I'm recognizing more about about how much I had been denying myself, and how much if I would have, I'm giving air quotes, if I would have followed the normal path, which really I say the normal path, like the healthy path, the ideal path. I don't know many of us followed the ideal path. Some do, I think, um, my entire life up until this point, well, I shouldn't say my entire life. This In 2017, I was living in New York, and I'd moved to New York in 2010. So in 2010, I did start expressing myself in a way that I hadn't prior. But up until then, so the first 27 years of my life, I was Matt Gerlach, abandoning emotions, abandoning intuition, and just trying to conform. My childhood, a big part of this, once I started having these debilitating panic attacks and depression, it forced me to go back to my childhood after I had, followed the medical path. I had like seen every doctor and realized that nothing really medically was wrong with me. And I realized that there was things in my childhood that needed to be dealt with. And when I went back, it's really hard for us to go back a lot of times because we are supposed to love our parents. We're supposed to respect our parents. We're supposed to respect our family for doing their best. And it was really a concept. I was in yoga teacher training. That's one of the things that I did when I was on this journey to figure out what the heck was wrong with me. And my yoga teacher actually just came back from yoga a few minutes ago, and saw her still. It's really beautiful to still see her. And she taught the concept of both. Our parents could love us and they could also hurt us. And that really started to open up my mind to like being open about my childhood. And it wasn't just like my parents. I mean, it was just everything. I'm a gay man, and I don't know that I really knew that I was gay until like, I don't know, like 15 or so, 14 maybe. I knew, but it was in such a state of denial that I wasn't really interested in pursuing it. But I definitely knew something was different about me sexually, but I wasn't like looking to have sex at 12 years old either. So
Right. Yeah.
it's,
But it was something within you that you could recognize and perhaps not be able to follow at that time, but just be able to acknowledge, oh, hey, there's something within me that is a little different.
I'm a soft, sensitive boy. I'm a man now, but I was a soft, sensitive boy that never really conformed to normal male stereotypes. And what's kind of interesting, like I'm a pretty masculine man too. Like I'm not like a typical gay guy either. Like I have tons of straight guy friends. I'm I hope I don't offend anybody by saying this, but I'm very handy around the house. Like, I can get under the car if I have to. I probably can't do anything under the car, but like I don't mind. I can do things, like where it's not like I grew up like in a more feminine type role. I mean, life's a lot different now, so rewind 30 years back when there was a lot more clear delineation.
Yeah. So where did you grow up? In what area of the country?
In Los Angeles, a suburb of Los Angeles, so it wasn't like it was unprogressive.
Yeah.
And I have compassion for my parents. I don't think they knew a single gay person, ever. And what they knew was probably what was on the news, and it was gay people dying of AIDS. And um,
Yeah. Yeah. And did you have any connections or influences of like religion or spirituality growing up either?
nope. And my mom herself, she found religion when I was about, like I was baptized, and like I guess like we were we believed in God, or we were told to. Like she was told to when she was younger, and she baptized me, but I we never like did anything religion wise. And there was some admonishment of religion in my family and some like extended families, some of my extended family. But my mom found religion when I was probably about 13 or probably about 14. And I went to church, and I went to church with her, and I liked like being there. I was so depressed and bored and lonely that like just having somewhere to go, and like it was a really progressive the right word, it was a really fun Christian church. Like, so the singing was like not like hymns or things like that. But I would say that and I've said this, I'm like trying to find the words to say it. Like I mean I would say that I mean I was kind of too old to be brought up like I mean I was old enough to make my own decisions about that, and where if I would have been like raised in church, I probably would have learned a lot more, but I was kind of at the point of like I would have had to buy into it myself, and I believed in God, I guess, but I just never really my childhood in one like phrase, there was always bigger fish to fry than my identity or my spirituality. Like I was trying to survive,
Right. Yeah.
and now I know survival is a lot easier with spirituality.
And so, like, when did you first encounter depression or anxiety in your life?
um Funny that you should, well, not funny, but last like this is like I mean I was reading a book last night, and I love reading, and I'm very at a place of being open and exploring memories. I've been in a place of that for a while, but there's new things that come in. And I remember reading this book last night of just it's a book about a woman's journey, and she was talking about how like she was like starving herself because she was so upset and trying to get attention. And I remember at 7 years old, like 6 years old, like throwing like tantrums to get attention, and doing things like that. Like I'm not going to eat, and I was very, I, I mean, I was not okay from as long as I can remember. And like when I look at pictures of myself, I was a really cute young boy. Like, I mean, at like 5 years old, like I was really cute. I was skinny, like healthy skinny. And then like by like 7 or 8, I was very fat, and I very unhappy. For most of those times. I had really good grandparents, and they loved me more. Like, if anyone else is listening in my family, I hope not. But they loved me, I think, more than they loved everybody else. And I think it was because they had the patience to see that I was a special boy. And my grandmother on my mom's side, I was the first boy she ever saw grow up because she had two daughters. So that was like a special thing for her. Um, but unless I was with them, I have, it pains me to say I don't really have any good. I can think of I mean I think I have probably three good memories in my home um during that period.
How did you survive through that time of growing up in your house? And what was the thing that was keeping you going, I suppose?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I think that's my I think that's my gift. Like that's my thing. I got a facial yesterday, and my esthetician is like a highly spiritual writer, like lovely person, and she has been on this journey with me for the past. I mean, I see her, once a month. Sometimes I saw her more than that, but she's been a big advocate for me. And yesterday she said, and I mean, I wrote it down, and I've been thinking about it a lot this morning. She's like, and she's like an Italian Jewish woman from New York, so she's like, pretty. Sh When she has an opinion, she'll make it known in a good way. But she said your story is so interesting and so different because you never like you like you like you always picked yourself up and kept going. You always
Right. Yeah.
and like I was thinking about this in yoga. Like, I mean, I hit this rock bottom somewhat, having these health problems that landed me in the hospital. But, and at the time, like I had just started this business, and I wanted to quit. And I had coaches and I had therapists and my partner, and everyone was like, oh my God, quit if you have to. But like, you don't have to probably, because you can keep going and set boundaries and do all the things to take care of yourself. And as I look back, like I think that's really in my coaching practice when I help other people, that's really what I think one of my strengths is that I help people get through tough times without throwing the towel in. And it is okay to throw the towel in if you have to. I want to make that clear.
Yeah, you said boundaries. So when was the first time that you understood that you were able to place boundaries in your life?
Oh, like 6 years ago, maybe. No, maybe 8, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, like 6 or 7 years ago. Yeah.
Boundaries are really interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like, I mean, I was an opinionated kid. I mean, I definitely wasn't like go with the flow. But I think one of the things that I've come to see and come to learn after so much personal development work is anger is a fine emotion, and I grew up not being allowed to be angry, yet having parents that were angry, and kids are supposed to be, what do they say, seen, not heard, and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, I was told growing up, you're just a kid, you're just a kid, and that my emotions didn't matter. So like I mean, I'm being very vulnerable in this, which I'm comfortable with. Something about you has just got me going already. But like, I'm in a place where I'm sort of, I did remember there was a sexual thing that I remembered growing up with my grandmother's boyfriend. It was over the phone. So it wasn't like the worst thing ever. But I mean, like, I mean, I say that and I've done a lot of work on myself to own up or to acknowledge how bad that is. But it could have, I mean, obviously there's much more horrific things that happen to people, but I'm sort of at a place of, I do think there's more that happened that I don't remember. And
Yeah, and it was something that happened to you, so you don't want to downplay the
yeah,
significance of that either. So thank you for sharing that. And yeah, it was significant for you to even bring up. So
thank you. And I mean, I think the reason that I like kind of bring up like it could have been worse kind of talk, and I hate the way that that sounds, but I bring that up because it's like we don't have to be thrown down a flight of stairs and tied to a car and dragged from behind it to like have experienced trauma. Like just being told like you're just a kid your whole adolescence, that is traumatic. So I very much like I'm not downplaying it. I mean, I know deep in my heart I'm not downplaying it. I'm just like I also acknowledge that there are a lot of worse things that happen in the world and that we are allowed to feel traumatized from things that aren't level 10 horrific.
right, yeah, that feeling, it's valid to feel that way. Definitely. And I think the spectrum of trauma is not really talked about very much. I think it's starting to become more talked about in that just because something maybe horrific didn't happen to us because our basic needs weren't met, that is also a trauma.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, what was the process like for you growing up and like leaving your home?
Well, there were no other options in my mind. So when like growing up, like I spent an inordinate amount of time with my grandparents. Like I would like when things were really hard for me, like I had no friends at all from like really until like high school, except for a short stint between like fourth and fifth grade where I had a group of friends and they realized I mean, I don't know if they knew I was gay or if I mean, I didn't know I was gay, but I knew I was different. I think they knew I was different and they abandoned me. And I also like really want to like, that's normal stuff for kids like to do. Kids are mean, and I just like, I think the horrific part about that was that I kept it in. I remember thinking like that I don't want to, my mom has enough on her plate. Like I can't let her know that like I'm in this kind of pain because it would just crumble her.
Yeah. Would you mind me asking what around what year this was?
No, yeah. What year, like in terms of like,
In terms of the year that it is like it's like 2025 now. So like how long
I
ago
guess it
was
would have been when you're in fourth grade, you're like 9 or 10. So I would have been like 1992 or 1993.
it? Okay. Because I just want to, because that puts us around the same age, I think. And I just want to acknowledge that even when we were growing up, the acceptance that people have now is much different than it was then.
Night and day. I mean, it's absolutely night and day.
Because I grew up in like a small town in West Virginia and I did a lot of theater and acting and we did a persuasive essay in one of my English classes and I did mine on gay rights
Hmm.
and I thought like people were going to like disown me and I looked like an alien because it was not something that was really cool then to support.
How did you like even know that? I mean, in 1990, I mean, I didn't even know that gay people deserved like when I was younger, like the reason that I kept my sexuality in wasn't because like I mean, the reason that it wasn't that I mean, yeah, I mean, I kept it in. The reason I didn't explore it or the reason that I didn't do anything with it was because I thought there was nothing to do with it. Like, I didn't think that gay people, I mean, I thought I'd be shipped away somewhere to an island and like be sent
Yeah.
there.
I
Like,
think maybe because I was fortunate enough to be surrounded in the arts and surrounded by people who like were really influential in my life and wanted to support them. I think that kind of like trickled over maybe a little bit.
it's my grandmother, her neighbors were gay. They were two older gay men, and this just really dawned on me like recently. Like they were old, so I mean they were like, I don't know, I was like 10, they were like probably 65 or 70, maybe even older. And I was told to stay away from them. Like, because I mean, I'll just say it the way it is. Like at least the way I understood it was that gay men could be molested. I mean, they could molest me. And then I started to put this together recently. They were in recovery, AA, and they had this massive Christmas party every year full of all these sober people and like never relapse. I mean, from what I understand, they, stopped drinking and like when they were 30 or 40 and like never touched it again. And then it just dawned on me. I'm like, these two men that I was told to stay away from are probably the two most like developed people that I had ever come across that like actually like did something so profound to change their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. So stay away from them because they challenge everyone else to be better.
Yeah,
But all
exactly.
of that to say, I just wanted to like say that to acknowledge that what you were going through took a lot of courage to face because those times were different than right now when people are more allowed to be free and authentic in who they are in their
Mhm.
sexuality. It's more accepted now.
Well, I mean, I live in California, so I can't like to me, I mean, I know that it's not as free here as it is everywhere, so I'm like so I'm kind of like biased like, but yes, here and I lived in New York too before this, so it's like the two most gay friendly places ever and I mean, it really jars me if I like. There was one job that I had when I was in New York. I was just talking about it the other day, where somebody said something about like where somebody kind of like discriminated against me, and I was like, it was like no one does that in New York, I mean, like so it was very noticeable and very uncomfortable and very much I got myself out of the situation, and the job shortly after.
Yeah. So you left home and then what happened in your life?
Yeah, I feel like we're jumping around. I'm good with it, but I hope I mean I'm enjoying this very much. So um I went to college and this was like one of the biggest I would say abandonments of my intuition. I mean just I mean I chose an interesting path for college. I went to a school in California in Southern California named UC Riverside. UC schools are great. So it's like on one hand I mean, I see the charts now, and it's like a top 100 school in America. I mean, I even feel proud now. I'm like, how the hell did I go to like a top 100 school in America? I mean, I was smart, but I was really smart, but still, a top 100 school in America is like crazy. So I got a great education. I really did, but like this was kind of a commuter school where, like, I would say that of my friends at school, like 90% of them went home every single weekend. And so I went home most weekends and like I mean, it was a very straight school. I went to one gay like meetup thing, and it was like horrible. Like, I mean, it was just horrible. Like, I mean, there was like six people, and they were not like. I'm like, I don't know. I just couldn't have fit in any less, um, and that was, and yeah, like I mean, gay people like we're now like gay people and straight people aren't so different, and back then it was just really different. And especially at this school, because it was like, it wasn't progressive. I mean, it wasn't like a fun school. No one, I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, gay people don't choose to go here when they have some self awareness about their sexuality, because it's not like it's probably like 1% like gay people or something, where like NYU is like probably like 30% or something. Maybe not 30, but probably
The,
close.
the environment didn't support it. Yeah. So
So I went to school there, and I mean, I like if I had to do it, I mean, this wasn't the biggest mistake of my life, but in terms of really stifling my identity, I think it was massive, massive for me. I became I had only straight friends, like, and I drank a lot, like everyone drank a lot, but I drank a lot, and um, I was like the drunkest one a lot of the times because I was just so uncomfortable. And I went to frat parties with my friends and stuff, and like I wasn't welcome there. And like the only way that it was like okay would be that if I drank so much. So I left home then, and then college was kind of like a mess. I mean, I drove from Riverside to LA for my job was in LA. I worked at a hospital, and it's really, I mean, I'm thinking we'll get here eventually, but like I'm really doing a deep dive into a lot of this right now through my writing, and it's really like I'm seeing a whole new layer present itself. I feel very sad for my college self working at a hospital doing this super serious job. I was only doing it for the money. There was death, there was
Yeah.
fighting, there was just it was just so not what I would want my 18-year-old doing.
Did you have a particular focus when you went to college? Was there like something that you were really pursuing as far as like career-wise?
Business administration, and that's I think one of the things about UCR. So this is kind of a plug for UCR. It was a great education, and they have a program. It's a business administration major where a lot of the schools that I looked at were like there was marketing only or there's finance only. Where when I went, like I got like a really good education on um, all things business. But like as I'm sitting here at 41 years old, like I'm like, was I? I mean, I'm a big believer in like puts us where we're supposed to be, and this is my path. But like, would I have been a creative person had I had that brought out of me? And also, I'm kind of, I guess, glad that I'm a creative person now with incredible business success because maybe I won't be a starving creative person. But yeah, I don't know that this was ever like what I was supposed to be doing, but I pursued it because I didn't know what else. My brother, he was drawing and he was doing things. He's also gay, by the way. He's 4 years younger than I am, and he was like, I mean, he was always artistic, and that was like supported at home. Like my parents, like bought him coloring books and stuff. Like, I mean, more than coloring books, like art supplies and stuff. But I was just like, I had a lot of shame for who I was.
Did you did you have an outlet at all? Did you write or anything like that?
I my outlet was chores and doing adult things. Like I got into I mean some of this I became very very helpful doing chores, mowing the lawns for the neighbors, her grandparents, cleaning, and I did a really good job of it too. My mom was a very clean person and
Right. So
cooking,
yeah,
and I
I mean,
found cooking and
so
cooking's
I guess like those skills can kind of be applied to a business and creating a structure for things and an organization.
Yeah, well, I mean, I found cooking as well, and
Yeah.
that's the first thing that I was, that's the first thing that I was really like good at. That was creative, and I'm sure we'll get here, but this is kind of where my life is taking me a bit right now. And going back to like childhood, like this was, I mean, I was probably like 6 or 7 years old, maybe not six, I don't know, 7, 8 years old when I was like starting to cook, and um, had I had that brought out of me or had the ability or the platform, maybe not platform, but the place where I could express that, that would have potentially changed my life. And but cooking was very that would have been kind of admonished. Like, I mean, I would have been shameful about that because that's back then that was like not a man's job was to be in the kitchen. And I wasn't like I want to be a big chef. Like it was like I like cooking like meatloaf for my family.
That's great.
I think so now, but I wasn't allowed. I mean, I was very shameful for who I was, and I remember growing up. Like, I mean, I remember being like 18 years old, being like, I'd rather die than like kiss a girl in front of my parents. Like, I just felt very shameful, and that wasn't. I mean, just to be clear, like kissing a girl, I mean, a guy would be unfathomable, but like just any expression of like me, any expression of me was very, very impossible for me to express, and I became all about conformity. Well, I mean, at school, I was a little less. I mean, I was funny. I mean, like once I started making friends in high school and such, like I was a funny person. I was the life of the party and a fun person that wasn't weird, but I was weird at home.
Yeah, I don't think that's uncommon. Um, so in college, you were in college and you were working at a hospital in a job that was sounds like it was heavy and probably contributed to some depression.
Well, I was making a lot of money, which is why I worked at the hospital. And so the hospital was about 50 miles away from college. And I put in just about full-time hours there. But what I quickly learned was that if I work, like the hospital was always short-staffed. So I would drive home on Friday afternoons and start work at 3 p.m. And that would almost always lead into a double shift. So I'd work 3 p.m. till 7 a.m. And I got a second job at a hospital around there too. So I was always doing, I mean, it was a 16-hour shift that I would do on Friday and Saturday nights. And the first, after the 8 hours, the next four were time and a half, and then the last four were double time. So if I worked those two double shifts, then I would make more than working five 8 hour shifts. And there was a handful of times when they were so short staffed that they kept me for 24 hours. And that was like scary. I mean, I couldn't drive home all the way to Riverside after that. Like, there's no way. I mean, you could barely walk. And so I would stay at my grandmother's house. And that's what I did. I mean, I'd stay at my grandmother's house. I get home about 8 o'clock in the morning and then sleep until 2 and then go to work again. And didn't have fun. I mean, like my fun was on the weekdays. I mean, I was drinking and having a good time with friends on weekdays while I was at school in my apartment. But yeah, it was a very serious job and just and I think like I mean it is I mean I do look back at it. I mean a lot of the nurses were like amazing. Like I became very close with a lot of them and like we had a lot of fun together. I smoked cigarettes nonstop, so there was a few that smoked cigarettes. We were outside smoking all the time. And but I remember like I remember crying a lot. You know, like when really sad things would happen, like when I would see something really sad, I would cry. Well, not obviously, but I'd cry, and I didn't mind that. I don't mind crying. Like, and I think that like there was almost a catharsis around that. Like when you would see something really sad, and just like I mean, it moved me. It's like watching a movie. I mean, not like watching a movie, but it was like you watch a sad movie because you want to feel something, and that was
Wow. It also allowed you a space to actually express yourself.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, the woman at the hospital, it's kind of like when I like look back at my adolescence, like there was a lot of women my mom's age in my life, like that really supported me in ways like that. Um, still, I mean, I have, there's a couple handfuls of friends that I have that are my mom's age that are just been really impactful to me and still are.
I'm very similar in that way, actually. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Like, not like, I mean, a lot of my like friends my age don't have that. Weird in a good way. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, you found like a surrogate almost in a way to be able to like connect with someone on a deeper level, a
Mhm.
nurturance in a way, maybe.
Like my mom was I mean I mean she was a lovely person and she tried but she just the level of overwhelm that I mean she babysat out of the house. We had like six or eight other kids around. I mean all the time like I mean I don't know how she did it, and so I don't really have
So it sounds like you found a way to kind of fill in some gaps of connections that you needed in your life through outside sources or work or different places that you weren't able to get at home.
yeah. I loved your question about just like how. I mean, I don't know how. And I think that that's what's been interesting in building my coaching practice. I don't mean this like to be mean, but like my patience for working with people who aren't high performers is non-existent, and not to say they're bad people. They're just not people that I work with because like I'm kind of at the place where like I've had a lot of people cancel on me, like, and I'm just like, I mean, things happen, that's fine, but it's like there's been the same thing, and it's just like, and I've been asking myself, like, this is happening right now this week. I went to the esthetician massage, like, talked to my couple my coaches this week, and I'm like, I don't think I canceled on you at all. And they're like, no. I'm like, huh, like hundreds of appointments, never once canceled. And I'm like, there's an element of commitment that I think a select few of us have, and that's really who I'm interested in helping.
Excellent. So, okay, so how long did you stay at the hospital job?
About 3.5 years. I worked at two different, so it's actually kind of funny. So I worked at two different hospitals in LA, and there was really no drama or anything in terms of like, like everything kind of went okay. Because the nurses were smart. Like I am, like I'm laughing. I am not a science person at all. Like I believe in science. I think it's amazing. I just don't. My brain does not work that way. And then I became a heart monitor technician, and like and I didn't like I knew enough to like know when there was a problem and to ask somebody else, like, is this a problem? Like, is this a big problem? So that was kind of how that went. And everyone, I mean, my job was to really know a bit more, like to really understand it and be able to make some better decisions. But I mean, I just my brain doesn't work that way. And then so I moved to San Diego after college, and then I got a job at another hospital where like the nurses didn't know, and I was like, oh no, like I have to quit. So I quit really. I worked there for a few months, and I was like, I can't do this. Like I can't be the one that's like the smartest one here in reading heart monitors. So that was the end of that. So
Okay. All
yeah,
right. So, yeah, you don't want to be the top performer in anything, I don't think, because then like where can you go from there? So,
yeah.
so in San Diego, that's different than Los Angeles. It's a little slower, more laid back.
Mhm.
Did you find a community there?
I moved there after college because all my friends like I went to this commuter school, and like every single one of my friends, I think every single one of them moved home with their family, and no admonishment at all. It was just like I didn't have that option. My grandmother was God rest her soul, but she was getting old and crazy, and like I couldn't be there anymore. I mean, and like I mean, it was pretty horrible, like having to stay with her. Like I mean, she was a lovely person and she loved me so much, but she was getting old. Like there was one night I came home and there was mouse poop in the bed that I was supposed to sleep in, and like I came home after a 16-hour shift, and I just had to like sleep on the other side of the bed. I mean, like, and it's not, and her house wasn't like dirtiness. I mean, it wasn't like, it was just an old, like, it was an old, like, tear down house, and, yeah, I mean, but she was really good to me. I mean, she actually helped me with college, and she had money, and she always helped. So it was. I mean, if anything, it was difficult watching her have. I mean, she was quite wealthy actually, and she didn't spend it on herself and just kind of hoarded money and everything. So I mean, I couldn't go back there at this point. And so I moved to San Diego after because one of my best friends from high school moved there. She was older than I was, and I'd been going down there for years and visiting and met all of her friends. So I had a real community. But it was interesting because like they were all I was like 18. No, no, I'm like 22, and they were all like 24, like single women that were like looking to meet guys, and like I wanted to meet a guy as well, so it was like they weren't like really able to support me in terms of going to gay bars and stuff. Like I mean, for every like 8 nights out with them, I get like one gay
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
But they loved me, and I'm still very, very close with this group of women. And I lived there for 3 years, and kind of just like, I mean, it's nice down there. It's kind of funny, like living in LA or New York. Like people say, like San Diego's so expensive, and I respect that. But like, I live like a stone's throw from the beach. I'm like in LA, there's no way that I could have lived a stone's throw from the beach. San Diego's a little bit
More
it, it-
accessible.
a little
Yeah.
more accessible. But I liked it. Like now that, I'm older, I could live there probably a little bit easier. But it was time to kind of speed up. As you said, the slow life down there was. And it
Yeah.
was
Kind of
and
mellow.
yeah, and then like a lot of the work opportunities are biotech things, and we already discussed my scientific abilities. So
Yes. Okay. So San Diego, done. What happens next?
So I met a guy living in San Diego. One of my friends from LA, one of my really good friends from LA. I'm still friends with him from high school. He came down to visit. He brought his boyfriend and a couple of other friends, and one of them was a boy that I ended up becoming and getting in a relationship with. And then I moved back up to LA and to be with him, I guess you could say. And we were together for like 3 years. It was interesting. Like I never told my family. I lied and everything. It feels like almost, I don't think I've talked about this ever on a podcast or anything. And I'm fine with it, but it's like I wouldn't obviously want to say his name or anything. Like we don't talk. I don't know that if we saw each other walking, if we would stop. I don't know that we wouldn't. I don't know that we would. Um, yeah. So I mean, it was like he was a good guy. I was a good guy. We were just young and not the
Yeah.
relationship should have ended way before
But
it did.
what was that experience like for you to actually have someone of interest after suppressing that for so long?
I remember I mean God, I mean this is like I mean I'm fine talking about it, but I was I couldn't have been any more codependent. Um I couldn't have been any more codependent and needy and I want to say jealous, but maybe that's not maybe medium jealousy, like and just like concern, just really work just like I'm nothing like what I used to be. I used to be a very worried, anxious person that smoked cigarettes all the time and like
Yeah.
didn't know. I wanted to say one small thing about that because it was so important. It was the first thing I actually thought about when you asked that question. When I moved from LA, from San Diego to LA, I stayed with him for like a month. And I remember he was like, "You don't need to pay me rent." Like I offered like to split rent with him. And he said, "No, I got it." And I remember that being like, no one had ever done anything so nice for me like that.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sorry to pause you, but I wanted to say that because
Well,
it
no,
was
that was great. I wasn't going anywhere in particular, actually. So you were able to allow yourself to receive that from him.
yeah, yeah, I think. I mean, I did. I think I did. I was touched. I was very touched.
Yeah. Back to LA with a guy, and you didn't introduce him to your family.
No, I lied like the whole time. Like I just I don't know what I said, but I might have I might have told my mom eventually, but like towards the end of our relationship.
And I appreciate you talking about like being a codependent on the situation because I feel like like that's and we all have to learn about relationships. We all have to learn how to interact and we only know like what was modeled for us growing up. So
Mm,
it's a learning experience for all of us.
mhm. Codependency is a big I'll be a little respectful, but as a more intelligent, having worked on myself, I see a lot of codependencies all over and what I grew up with. And
Yeah.
I think codependency doesn't I mean a lot of it's boundaries. Like codependency doesn't mean that you're a broken codependent person. It means from what I've sort of observed, it's that oftentimes codependency is like a byproduct of no boundaries and nobody being able to everyone feeling responsible for everybody else's action for everybody else's feelings.
Yes. And also, I think when we don't know how to get what we need, we'll kind of like do anything and then can kind of fall into a people pleasing role. And
Absolutely.
so those are things that kind of like attract each other as well. Yeah. Big.
The codependency thing is interesting because like I mean I think like it's just so much more complicated and I'm excited to kind of talk about this like or just to bring some light of this for you that is listening like I think that we think like codependency is like I'm codependent, I'm insecure, like I like that's one way codependency presents itself. And if it's like that, don't feel bad. I mean, you were like that because you probably grew up with that. But codependency happens when I mean, it really is that people pleasing thing. It's like, it's like dad's coming home from work, we must clean up the house so he doesn't get mad. So it's like we're all and dad is also this isn't my situation example. I mean I'm kind of just giving an example, but it's like we're all kind of like taking responsibility for everybody else's actions. And in some cases somebody's winning because somebody's not having to take responsibility for their own actions. But in a lot of cases, nobody's winning. Everybody's just going in a circle of trying to please each other, and no one's actually taking the effort to say, like, to sit down and have the conversation and being like, I don't like pizza either. Well, I thought you liked pizza. That's why I've been eating pizza every Friday night for the past 10 years, you know? So,
Or just like even being able to have an intelligent conversation about emotions
mhm.
and to be able to express what you're feeling
Yes.
and not be afraid of conflicts.
Yes. We learn later, though, that conflict is normal, and in healthy relationships, we have conflict. My partner and I are going through a little bit of a conflict right now, and I mean, it's interesting. Like, there's no yelling, there's no like, there's a lot of reassurance. Like, I just told him a few minutes ago, like, like, I know you're not mad at me. I know, I hope you know I'm not mad at you. We're just working through something right now. He's like, I understand. I feel the same way. So
That's really, really amazing.
I think so too. It took some work. We went to therapy at the beginning of our relationship for several years, but
But it seems that like conscious relationships are becoming more into the awareness.
yeah, I think that relationships look so much different. I have one client that I'm speaking with right now, and they were talking about just like their marriage and just how like I mean, I reminded him like a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people like polyamory is a big thing now, like your relationship can look however you want it to look, I mean, I gave the example of polyamory, like living in a separate house, like people do all kinds of things now. And I think the invitation is really just like to ask yourself what works for you. And I tend to be a little more on the traditional side of things, but I don't know. I guess I'm open. I don't know what I'll feel like in 30 years, you know? Um,
As long as you're being honest with
yeah,
yourself,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so relationship in LA that you had to hide from your family or chose to hide, and then it ended after 3 years, you said?
Mm, yeah.
And
It
then
feels like
last.
so long ago. Like I can't even, I mean, I think I mean, yes, it was 3 years, but I was like thinking, do I remember his birthday, what month it was even in? I don't. I thought about that a few weeks ago for some reason.
It probably wouldn't be very good if you were still holding on to all of those things. So
Yeah.
being able to process it and let it go,
Mhm.
grieve and move on. And
Mhm.
what was it like for you after with that transition?
Horrible, horrible. Codependency could not have been any worse. And I was a complete mess, completely a mess. Um, I mean, this might have been a little bit of a rock bottom moment, but again, it's like it didn't like, I mean, bills were paid. Like I turned to working out a bit. I also turned to drinking a bottle or two of wine and smoking a pack of cigarettes, probably mostly every night. And not alone every night, but on weekdays sometimes alone. Yeah, I mean, I drank a lot during that, but it wasn't like it wasn't like sad drinkings. I mean, a little bit sometimes, but like it was kind of more like drinking to be happy and smoking cigarettes and um I worked. I mean, talk about like, authenticity and intuition. I worked in metal sales. We didn't talk about that when I graduated college and after leaving the hospital job, I went where the wind took me, and whoever offered me the first job got me. And I worked at a metal distribution center. Again, like I can see the positive in it. It was like really, I learned a lot. Like it was a real sales job, like negotiating price, like goals. It was closely managed, and the people were nice. I mean, I worked with nice people, and like I was a top performer for them. So my bosses were very good to me and and I learned a lot. But I mean, who's like, what child is like, I want to be a metal salesperson when they grow up, And looking around, like there was one other guy that was about my age that went to college and my age, but like mainly it was like people, my parents' age that had been there. And um, I mean, this was not the ideal job for me either. And around this time when the breakup happened, it was around 2008, and the Great Recession had hit metal sales quite bad, and they had stopped 401k matching and stopped our commission plans, and money was like incredibly tight for me. So I yeah, I mean, money was really tight, and I mean, I'm kind of just processing this because I'd always saved, so like it wasn't like I was, like living off of credit cards or anything like that. But I just had no extra money, and at the time, like I never really traveled, like maybe to San Francisco or something like that. But like I never really like did any. So this wasn't like I was like gallivanting around town, around the country, and like buying Louis Vuitton bags and stuff at that point. I just didn't make enough to survive, really. So so I moved to New York. And this is where my life, I would say, really started. It's really funny talking about this because I'm writing all about this right now, and it's just like now we're to the point where I'm like really processing. And I would say that my life really began in 2010 when I moved to New York, and it was because the first time like I just was able to like I had a few dollars. I forget like what I had. I probably had like, 20 or 30 or $40,000 or something saved up. So it wasn't like I was like risking being on the street. And like there was a couple of like bones that were thrown my way financially. Like one of them was a little unethical, but like the credit card company accidentally credited my credit card back like something pretty significant. Sorry, I probably shouldn't. My ethics are different now, but at the time I thought it was maybe God giving me a cushion to move to New York with. And I landed a job in New York, and the job paid twice as much as I made in LA, and it was like the doors of my life opened. It was for a baby product company, this startup company I liked to drink at the time. The company was Australian owned by this like super fun woman who loved to work hard and loved to celebrate hard. And the company was like 30% gay. So my life really started taking shape at that
Nice.
point.
What area did you live in New York?
I moved to Hell's Kitchen. And yeah, Hell's Kitchen, so that's where like all the gay bars and stuff are. And I had like a cheapish apartment that wasn't I mean it wasn't fancy, but like it was clean. I don't think we ever really saw rodents, or I should say that I don't remember ever seeing a rodent. There might have been a cockroach or two, but anyone who's lived in New York, there's some places that have lots of rodents and lots of cockroaches, so this was a huge win. And rent, I don't remember what it was, but it was probably like 12 or 1300 or something, which was not
Yeah.
bad.
What did it feel like for you to move to a completely new place?
I'm smiling. I mean, everything about I remember I'd been to New York twice before that, once as like an adult in college and once in high school for a field trip. So I knew very little. And I remember like everything about it. I remember going out to dinner with my family the night before. I remember taking the red eye and getting off the plane and the way it smelled and the heat. I landed in August. I guess I forgot it might have been August 3rd. I forgot that. I think it was August 3rd. And it was so hot and the smells and just like I'm smiling right now because this was just such an amazing time in my life. And I had 2 weeks off of work. Yeah, I think I landed on the 3rd and started work like on the 17th or something. So I never really had 2 weeks off of work, until then. And I had a few friends that lived there, but not many, and I mean, I was just looking. I just launched my Substack this morning, and I was just looking at pictures. So this morning I was like, I remember like the picture that I took the second day that I lived there. It was
Oh,
amazing. It was the first time, talk about codependency. It was the first time in my life that I didn't feel like I had any other responsibilities other than to take care of myself. Um, it wasn't like my parents or my family were like weighing on me in my life and an everyday thing, but I think it was like, I think deep down, like, it was like I didn't want to, like I had a lot of animosity for things that had happened. And I think like even going to like an Easter dinner or something at my parents' house or something, I think before I moved to New York, even that, like I'd probably spend a week fired up about going and a week fired up after it, and just it really was like it was my I felt like it was just my job to please everybody. And Meanwhile, hiding. I told my mom about the breakup, but I doubt I let her into like how bad I mean, it was horrible, like absolutely horrible. I don't remember ever suffering the way that I suffered then. And there was times I remember of having to like, oh, we're going to Easter or whatever. I'm like barely able to pick myself up off the bed right now, and here I'm going to like
Don't
Easter,
care.
and you guys don't show the capacity to even care about this.
Yeah, yeah, that's just so tough. I've been there.
It's horrible.
Um, so you were in New York, and I'm just like feeling into this for you of like having that space, even if it's a small space in New York, to have your own energy and your own claiming your own space.
Mhm. It was it was I mean I definitely drank a lot, but it wasn't like there was no negative like it didn't feel like a coping thing. It was just having fun. Like I mean I had never really um like like growing up, like my parents were really admonished and they really admonished alcohol because they grew up with parents who were alcoholics, and my parents did a very good job of not drinking. Like there's no alcoholism in I mean, my parents didn't. They barely drank. That's what I'm trying to say, because their parents did. So I think they were, and I've heard the stories now that I've gotten older. So it's understandable why they were like so anti-drinking. They weren't so anti-drinking. They were just, it was always I mean, they made it a big deal, and so it was just nice to have that freedom. I was incredibly promiscuous, incredibly promiscuous, and I don't say that like I'm not saying that for any other reason other than to really demonstrate like that's what we do when we're trying to fill a hole, when we're trying to make up for something that's lacking. And I have like where I have like sadness for the 19-year-old Matt that was working at the hospital. I don't have sadness for the 27-year-old promiscuous Matt. I have more like compassion. Like he just trying to get to know himself and trying to do for the first time, like really expressing myself in less than perfect ways, but
Yeah, you're learning who you are on your own terms.
mhm.
Yeah.
And it was fun. Like, did you live in New York?
A little bit, briefly. And New York gives you plenty of opportunity for exploring those things.
Yeah. Like growing up in California, I went to Vegas a lot. Not as a child. My parents didn't like it, but like in college, we went all the time. Riverside's like 2.5. It was when traffic wasn't the way it is today. But I remember going to New York and thinking like, this is like an adult. It's like a Vegas, a much classier Vegas.
I always called Vegas debauchery for people with no imagination.
Yes. And New York is more like, I mean, just everyone drinks all the time. Like, and it's like,
New York feels like a more magical, like synchronous, things just happenstance
yeah.
for me. Yeah.
And they happen at the bar at happy hour after a hard day of work often.
Okay, so you're at this job, you're crushing it, you have your own space, you're learning who you are. And so how did you get back to Los Angeles?
I met my partner, David. We met in 2012. So I'd been there for about 2 years when we became officially boyfriend and boyfriend. And we moved in together to a place in Madison and on 27th and Madison, which was like at the time it was just like I mean it was a nice apartment, like not like fancy, but like it was a real like there was real walls, a real bedroom. It was like vaulted ceilings and like a dining room table and everything. So it was a really nice apartment, and that was and I had and I'd had a few different jobs in New York by this time. Just kind of exploring new things, all in consumer products. So that's what I landed in then. And it was so much better working in consumer products than it was in metal. And I mean, I learned a lot, but like that wasn't what I was put on this earth to do. And I went for 1 year. I worked at a software sale. I mean, I worked in software sales for like a Silicon Valley startup company, and that company left, and that company laid me off. The company this like they had gone through all of their funding, and this wasn't like terribly tragic. The writing was on the wall that things weren't working well. But this brings us to when the panic attacks and depression started. I, you know, like drinking was still a big part of my life as it was for most New Yorkers. Like I'm not saying that to defend, but it's like I was drinking the same amount my friends were. But what I've come to realize, my friends didn't have mental illness in their families probably the same way I did. And and now kind of seeing where I'm at right now, like it's a lot easier to drink and to not be taking optimal care of yourself when you have a full-time job and I'm not saying it's easy, but like when you're like just going to work and kind of being told what to do or somebody else is laying the goals out for you and stuff, it's not so bad. But for me, I was laid off from this job, and the job, it offered incredible freedom. Like I had never seen it. I mean, I was like, you didn't have to go to work. Like you just did your job, and no one was really like monitoring. So like, and the company was going under, so no one really had to work that hard. And then I was like, I can't go back to like being held down in a desk chair till 5 o'clock on a Friday, like because that's just what we do. So I mean that was not an option for me. And Again, on the intuition front, I didn't really have any. I'm as far well, let me be more clear about that. I didn't really know what to do with my career. And I asked a friend, and she said, you should start a consulting business. And so I did. And I went back to, I started a sales and marketing consulting agency helping consumer product brands. And that was really when the panic attacks and worries started to happen. And I'm in a transitionary, I'm sure we'll get there, but I'm in a transitionary point right now. And I'm seeing like, it's very hard to be transitioning and getting clarity and discernment when you are not optimally taking care of yourself. So I'm at a place right now where I'm not drinking, I'm not eating badly, I'm sleeping well. I'm like, you really have to take care of yourself really optimally to have the clarity and the courage and everything you need to like really set yourself up for success.
Yes. So the panic attacks and anxiety and all of that stemmed from, what do you think it stemmed from?
I think it was multifaceted. Around so I'd started a business and I had no idea how to value my services or how to set boundaries. I just took any client that would pay me. And really, the main function that I was providing was I was doing sales for these companies. So I'd come in and I'd say, hey, I think I could do this for you and sell your products to major retailers and international distributors. And I didn't really know like what went into fulfilling these orders. And and a lot of it was like some of it was fine. Like, I mean, I hate operation stuff, but that kind of made sense to me. But some of it was like compliance stuff. Honestly, like I am not a compliance person. I am a ask for forgiveness, not permission type person in my life. Like compliance would be the first job that I would hire somebody to do for me. I mean, I can't really do it. And so that was stressing me out incredibly, like having to learn how to do a lot of these things. And I did them. I forced myself to, and I mean, I hate operations work like this too. And I was doing that. And so I was having to figure like packaging, reading these routing guides that some of them are 500 pages, 1,000 pages long from major partners and like just horrible work. And so I was having to do all of this to get my orders to ship compliantly. And it was killing me. I mean, what I really I'll come back to that in a second. It was killing me. Also, my partner and I decided to move to Los Angeles during this time. He had wanted to move for a while, and I said no. And then eventually, like you compromise, and I was okay with it. Like, I mean, I was okay with it, but I thought I'd stay in New York forever. But as I've come to realize, I do think that like I knew what I was getting back to, and I was getting back to be close with my family, and there was a lot of trauma that needed to be or needed to be handled. So I think that was a big part of it. And 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 I mean, him and I mean, we were like getting a lot. Like our relationship was really becoming something, and like I loved him more than I loved myself. So it was sort of a trifecta of all of these things. And I mean, I mean, I think my life was really speaking to me. And so I kind of alluded to this, but on this journey, this healing journey that I'd been on, I started writing a book, a big, I mean, I started writing a book and it's like I mean, it's a memoir. It's a very deep and memoir that I don't think is like, I think this is not the first book. So I've started writing a book about this transition that I'm in right now. And it's been really interesting to reflect back on this. And I think that actually you're going to like this. But I think that actually this was a wake up call that was saying, don't go back to this consumer product work that you like. I left consumer product sales to go sell software sales. This really came to me recently. I worked for a company I very much loved, for a woman who I loved. I'm still very close with her. I had a team of people that I loved. So like there was a little chaos, you know, there was some fundamental things like with the job that like to spare the details, there were just some things that I didn't love, but like I didn't leave a toxic work environment. Like, and it really hit me that I think that these wake up calls was where my life telling me, don't go in this direction. You have money saved. I mean, at this point, I probably had a couple $100,000 saved, maybe a little more. And, my as I'd done the work, you know, my therapists, many of them, different ones, had diagnosed me with, you know, diagnosed might be a strong word for this, but had said that I've experienced financial trauma. You know, growing up, we grew up very poor, and we didn't have much, but there was more. Like there was a lot of saving for tomorrow. Everybody in my family had saved for tomorrow, and I think that this was my wake up call to not go down this path. And I went down the path for 8 years. And um, you know, I'm not quite sure how I feel about the whole thing. I worked for some lovely people. I learned so much. This baby product industry that I was in, the people are pretty nice. Like I have to say, like it was like it's an interesting industry because it's not growing. Like at this time it was like a very new thing to have these like higher end baby products, and the thing is these products don't wear out really. So now there's this whole massive hand me down world. And even my partner and I are going through surrogacy right now. We're gonna have a baby later this year. I'm not buying all the crap that like people used to buy 10 years ago. It's like life's different now. It's not like the cost of living is way expensive right now, and people aren't going out and spending $500 on blankets the way they did 10 years ago. So over these past 8 years, it's been sort of sad, you know, to watch the industry. Not sad, like not that I'm like emotional. Well, I have like the peak has. I mean, it's peaked. Like we're just never gonna go back to a place like this was like back when moms drove Suburbans all over, and like, you know, people just don't do that stuff in the same way they used to. And so I had done this for the past 8 years, and I say this not to brag, but it's a big part of the journey. I grew my business to where I was making $1 million a year, and I did it. I got to the point where I leveraged my all this lovely compassion and empathy that I had that I thought was a sign of weakness. I learned how to manage people and to lead really compassionately, and developed a team of people. I hired myself a right hand woman that came out of my money that I, you know, so she's the way that I looked at it was, you know, I mean, if she could do my work and if I don't have to work, then great for me. So I was able to make $1 million a year and working 15 to 20 hours a week. And
Yeah.
I left it about today actually marks the 6 month anniversary of my last day. So special day.
Wow, congratulations on 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 taking the leap.
I mean, it's weird. Like I have money. I mean, you probably can gather a little bit by what I made, but I didn't make that for like, that wasn't like that was a couple of years, a few years of making really good money. I mean, I have some money. I mean, I need to work again. Surrogacy, for those of us who don't know, I mean, it's $250,000 for two men to have a baby. So it's a very privileged place we're at. I feel really sad for most people can't afford that. I mean, and even just my money alone didn't necessarily make this possible. My partner, I happened to meet the other person in the world that saved really well since he was well. I mean, since he was young and he'd made good money as well. So I mean, we've
Uh, but also, I mean, you started working really hard from like the time you were pretty much 18 and kept working really hard and acquiring all these skills along the way. And like
15. I worked since I was 15, but yes, hard when
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So you've gathered all these skills and like taken them from one place to another to a
Hmm.
place that you built your own thing and
Hmm.
what you were good at, knew your strengths and hired other people like to fill in the blanks of where you
Yeah.
were. So I think that's incredible.
Thank you. I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of it, but I'm humble. Like that's the thing too. Like I mean, I'm humble. Like I think that, like, how did I do this? I don't know. I think that I was given the gift of tenacity and perseverance, and I think that my purpose in the world is to be a role model for others and help others do this. And I like to say, I mean, I talk about money a little more openly than most people will. And it's because I grew up thinking $100,000 was a lot of money. And I mean, back then it was, I mean, it was a little bit more than, I mean, it was kind of a lot of money. Now, $100,000 is not very much money, especially not if you're living in LA or New York or something like that. I mean, even Nashville, it's not that much anymore, you know? You can't buy a nice house at $100,000 a year, you know? And I talk about this because we're told not to talk about money. Who does that benefit? It benefits the person who's making a lot of it, who doesn't want you to know that they're making that much of it. And if they don't, and if you're not talking about it, you're happy with your $75,000 paycheck living in an apartment, thinking that's normal. I mean, if you're a top performer, you deserve to be making a lot of money. Like that's the way it is. And right now, like companies can't afford to lose a top performer. If you're a salesperson or operations or doing something amazing for a company, no one can lose you.
So now, like being where you are and like
Mhm.
having this space that you have to kind of go where you want to from here, like where would you like to go next?
This has been very interesting, and this is like it's really synchronistic that we're having this conversation right now because Um, I'm going to kind of give the I'm going to give the kind of the brief overview of this. I left my consulting clients because I wanted to start a coaching business, and I wanted to coach people like me who, I mean, high achievers who had checked all the boxes right and still didn't feel fulfilled. I have a passion for working with entrepreneurs who are undervaluing their services and don't know how to build a company appropriately. And this could be an entrepreneur who has a graphic design, I mean, a freelance graphic design person who is incredibly talented, but and working with, I'm making this up, working with Nike, but doing it for $50 an hour when Nike pays freelance graphic designers $300 an hour if they're good. You know, it's helping people really have the confidence and realize that, like so many of us, we think that we need more skills to get to a certain place. And I really have a passion for helping people. I'm like this like blue collar scrappy. I mean, like I'm a scrappy person. Like I am not like this like polished like here's my processes in a business. No, I mean I grew $1 million business with no website. It was through, word of mouth. I mean, it was through getting out and having conversations and networking. And I have a big passion for this. And also, like, I think most people, the people that I'm drawn to serve are people who have traumatic childhoods that are holding them back, limiting beliefs. And I have had the honor of working with a lot of clients over this past year that I really started working in this capacity, but I'm like, this isn't it for me. Like, there's more. I love doing this, but I realized like I didn't leave this job to like be in front of a computer all the time. I don't mind like the Zoom calls and this is great, but like I don't want to be in emails. I don't want to be like this is not really what I want to do. I mean, obviously part of the day it's fine, you know, but it's just like when I look at these past 6 months, like I have wasted an unfathomable amount of time and money going down all of these wrong paths. And I say the word waste and I'm retracting that because I don't think anything is a waste. You know, I've learned I have the privilege that I've had the time and had the money to be able to waste both of that. There I go again, waste, to spend it in an unproductive way. Um, is it okay that I keep going in terms of saying,
Yeah.
okay, I just wanted to make sure you didn't have a question or anything because I'm getting to I'm to where things are at. But like, I started writing this book a while ago, and I love writing. I love talking like this. I love engaging with people. I love like if you I mean like up until like recently I was Mr. Work from home. I mean I Mr. Sweatpants and being at home. I liked this. And then I've been out like meeting people in a way that I mean this is not usual for me to be out like networking, and it's not even just networking, just going to places I'm invited to. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I really like being in front of people." um in a way that, maybe I just got fatigue of being at home all the time. So I love cooking. And over these past like 3 months, I've been really starting to inquire. My mom actually, they say that mom knows you best. I asked her, probably the first person. I said, "What do you think I should be doing with my life?" And she said, "I think you should be doing something with food." Okay. And I asked her what. She's not like the business person, so she wasn't much help there. But my partner just started a bakery out of our home too, which is interesting.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a thread from your childhood of food being something that you were interested in.
I love
And if yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I loved I loved cooking. I loved food. I appreciated food. My grandmother like taught me how to. She was fancy-ish a little bit in her weird house with mouse poop in the bed once. But like, she would have like the whole family over for Christmas. And like I remember going to Macy's with her and she bought like all new dishes to have like 30 dishes to have everybody there, And I'm like, "Oh, this is," so she taught me like how to put on an elegant what appetizers were and stuff, and then and I really started writing about this. Like I started chronicling, like a friend of mine reached out and he explained to me, I'm getting a little teary-eyed right now saying this, just because like a friend of mine reached out to me and kind of said like, I want you to hear like that I think this is something that you should be doing too, and explain to me like just like the narrative thread that follows that the cooks have, like that people like doing what I'm doing have. And I started seeing that and I started like really chronicling like my food journey, and just like, when I was younger, when I wasn't able to play sports, I actually became like the unofficial co-chair of the snack bar at the park with this woman. She was Mexican, and she taught me like refried beans and how amazing beans are. Like, and that might have been the first thing that I'd ever eaten that was like homemade, like to that, like when a can is fine, like why are you spending like hours making something that's like it could be bought from the can? I never saw anyone do that. And then now like I'm a like and I started to like really kind of like lay this all out to like how like my food evolution has transpired, and like um it's not lost on me. Do you know who Ina Garten is? Barefoot Contessa. Okay. Some people don't. It's weird. It's not bad. It's just like I can't assume. There's some people that I would totally assume would. Her mem she was like the first, like when I found her 10 years ago or whatever, like my jaw dropped, and I've been following her. I've seen her speak a few times. And her memoir came out, and I think it was October of this year. And I'm reading it and I'm like, holy shit, this is like this is like so synchronistic. And like I thought she was teaching us how to cook. She was teaching us how to have a good life, how to enjoy our lives. So I also like what she's done in terms of showing it. It's a long game, and truthfully, I don't know that I'm 41 years old. I don't know that I can spend 16 hours a day working in like a food store like she did. But like, what do I have? My partner and I, we have a nice house. We live in the middle of LA. So tomorrow actually is my first official brunch that I'm serving. I've invited a group of business leaders over to my home. I'm cooking for them. I've done a lot of like in building this coaching business. I don't want to call it building a coaching business. I'm not that big in the coaching world. I'm big in the mentorship world. I want to show people like I want to show people that like I want to show people like how to do this, and I want to do it like in a non-traditional like here's your Zoom call. Let's get on a call and talk about like here's my program. That's not really what I'm looking to do. So I thought, here's the plan. Like I'm gonna start three out of 4 Fridays a month. I'm hosting brunches at my house. There's no cost. It's I reached out to a lot of people. I have a wait list already. Um, anyone who's interested that's listening, please shoot me an email. I'll probably get that at the end. But yeah, I don't
Yeah,
expect to
I'm gonna come out for brunch.
seriously, like, and I don't expect to like sell to people like my coaching services, but I hope if one out of every 20 people were to be like, hey, I have a friend you should talk to who's like struggling with this. We're going to see how this goes. But in the meantime, I think that I've been blessed with the gift of vulnerability, and I'm very, very comfortable taking people into this journey these past 6 months of I've spent tons of money. I've done a lot of things the wrong way. I've tried to fit myself into a box that I've been told to be in. And I have drank too much wine many times because I've been hurting. And I I want to share this. Like, this is the journey. Like, building a business is not for the faint of heart, but this is the journey and it's doable.
Yeah. And you're following that thing in you that is there that you're following. So cheers to you and congratulations on your bunch.
Thank you. So I launched my Substack today. I'm starting getting back on social media in a strategic and effective way and just being me and seeing what happens. And maybe the first book is a cookbook that comes out that explain. I mean, but the thing that I, the thing that I do, like this cooking thing, there's a real reason behind this. The cost of living is insane, and I respect all the restaurants out there. I know that they're not getting rich either, but like eating out is like the easiest thing to cut out of the budget, I think, and I teach people how to make delicious food that impresses guests that is not that hard. I make things that look a lot more difficult than they are. So,
All
um,
right. So if people would like to find your Substack or information about you, where can we guide them?
well, Substack and my Substack, Instagram, and TikTok are all I am Matt Gerlach. And you can email me directly. I don't normally give my email address out, but why not? Matt at mattgerlach.com. My website is mattgerlach.com. If you Google me, you'll find me, and I'm sure I'll be in the show notes. But yeah, reach out. Like, I'm just kind of at this place where I mean, this is hard a bit. Like, we're going through surrogacy. I don't have like unlimited amounts of money. I've spent a good amount this past 6 months, and I, 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 I mean, I really want to support people and bring you into this. Like, if I spend 20% of what I have saved over these next 2 years to completely change my professional life into one that I find fulfilling, is that a is that worth it? Yeah. In theory and practice are two different things. So I want to take you into the practice and the struggle that it is to really put that into practice. So
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything that we haven't covered that you feel is important that's on your mind or your heart?
yeah, I mean, I don't know that everybody has the purpose to start their own business. I don't know that everybody like my mom and I talked, and she was a secretary, her life, and that was fine for her, and I think a lot of people there's I think a lot of people are fine with that, and I think that's really amazing. And quite honestly, we need that in the world because not everybody could be a dreamer and a manifester. We need people that just want to do the work. And I'm the kind of person that takes care of people that do the work way better than average. I think that like if I make a lot of money, I like to pay other people. But like if you have a dream, like I mean, if you're not feeling fulfilled, like it's interesting in coaching people, I can very much like sift this out. Like when someone says, "Yeah, I'm thinking of starting this business," or "I've always wanted to," like people that don't want to start a business don't say that. Like people that don't have that in them don't say that. Like and maybe it's not just like when you if there's something on your mind or if there's something that's in you, like I invite you to pursue it and talk to me if you want to about it. I'm happy to support you in this, but I don't have regrets, but I have like one kind of regret. And it's just like that I wish that when I was 18 or 19 years old, when my cost of living was minuscule compared to what it is now, I really do wish I would have taken that time to um to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And it's kind of the same approach I have right now at 41. We're going through surrogacy right now. I mean, like literally in 10 months, we're going to be dads. And I'm kind of looking at it the same way. Like, unfortunately, my cost of living is way more than it used to be, but I have this time right now. So this might be the last opportunity I really have to really figure this out. So, well, I shouldn't say last, but it's not going to get easier. So the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The second best time to plant a tree is today.
Yes. Thank you for that. So I have one last question that I asked to
Sure.
wrap up the conversation. And that is if your inner voice had a billboard, what would it say to the world?
Be vulnerable. I'm kind of like, I mean, that's kind of normally what I'd say, but be vulnerable with yourself and figure out who you are. Like, be vulnerable and be willing to figure out who you are,
Yeah,
what you want, what you need.
great. Well, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story. I really enjoyed this.
Me too. Thank you. This was very enjoyable for me. I mean, I don't like, usually it's, yeah, I really got to think about my whole story in life and in a way that I haven't verbally ever done. So thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me this week. If you're listening and you like what you hear, please consider subscribing and rating this podcast, as it really helps get this podcast out to other people who might be interested in hearing it but don't know about it yet. And also, if you'd like to contact me or reach me, you can reach me at unconditioningpodcast@gmail.com or unconditioningpodcast on Instagram. Thank you so much. And until next time, stay tuned in to you.